Hello everybody, we're back with the Queen versus Rook endgame, and I want to show you the center of the board position. One of the rules is that there are three positions that the attacker tends to misplay most easily. Those are the harassment defense, certain corner defenses, and when the defender's pieces are both in the four central squares of the board, as they are here. So when both defensive pieces are in the center of the board, it can be very difficult to get them out. So if possible, you want to use harassment defense, corner defense, and center of the board defense when you're defending this position, because if you can string all three together, there's a pretty good chance you can reach the 50 move rule just on the inevitable inaccuracies. Now this position is about as bad as the attacker could ask for. Both defending pieces are in the center of the board. The two attacking pieces are not coordinating at all, and black is on the move. Now, how would the attacker ever get such a lousy position? Well, the attacker just captured the last pawn. So black is on the move. When you can attack your opponent's pieces by turns, it's best to do so. So we give a check there, and we attack the queen, attack one, then attack the other. So the queen goes there. Nope, no pieces are out of the center yet. Queen gives a check there. Okay, we've got the king out, and we've bought time for the attacking king to move in. But we didn't do that quite right, as you can see. Okay, so your move again, white. Okay, let's attack there. Both pieces are back in the center, and now the king can walk forward safely. Okay, what does the defender do? Well, there's no reason to move too far away from the center. It's white's job to force you out of the center. Okay, so white could play queen d3 check here and achieve the goal of getting both pieces out of the center, but it's also very easy for an attacker to do something like this, in which case we're just right back where we were. Okay, give that check, step back into the lightning position. Okay, the attacker actually knows how to handle the lightning position here. And we go there. We're still having trouble getting that second piece out of the center of the board. Okay, turn a wishbone into a thorn. That should be automatic by now. It's also reasonable. It's just as good for the defender to play rook e7, because the general rule you've heard many times, if you can form a rosette, it's usually a good move. That is equally good. We get a check there. We've finally gotten both pieces out of the center of the board. It took this attacker 16 moves to make 7 moves of progress. But now I've added a few more things that are not in the published version of the database that help to illustrate how to play this endgame. So the attacker gives a check there, and the defender correctly moves back toward the center. Okay, it's usually advantageous to skewer the rook because that restricts your opponent's moves. So give this check so that he has to stay close to his rook. And what you see developing now is that along this line, we are forming a cage. So we go there. Both attacking pieces converge on the e6 square. And we're in a cage position. So this is an example of how you use not just concrete moves, but the concepts of the queen versus rook system to know what are the best ways to go about breaking down a position. So he brings his rook back there. He wants to keep his king in body check position. So naturally you give that check. There are other equally good moves for the attacker, but that pretty much forces this. And then you go there, take the opposition. So black, of course, forms the body check position, and the attacker immediately forms an Erva position. This is what I mean by using the library of positions to convert one type into another type and gradually make progress. So let's go back to our starting position and look at the right way to kick the defender out of the center. The secret is that the queen has to give a check at some point along the long diagonal, because that takes away 2 central squares from the defending king. The rook will be sitting on a 3rd central square, and the attacking king takes away the 4th. So you're actually playing to evict the king from the center. That's the key to this. So the defender attacks one piece. The attacker attack a hanging rook, can't be bad. The defender switches to attacking the other piece. We get this check, we get the block, and now the queen checks from there. This is the first key. The queen is taking away 2 central squares. The defending rook is taking away the 3rd. That forces this move, and now this check forces the defending king out of the center. We've made progress. King goes there. The natural thing to do is follow it with your king. One of the ways to lose a lot of time is let your king get too far away from the defending king. And black naturally closes up the body check position. Now in the body check videos, I tell you that there's 2 ways of handling this. One is to give the check queen to c5, and the other is to play queen to f1, creating an Erva position. Well, let's look at queen c5 check first. So we get that check. That's the natural fallback, staying as close to the center as possible. The attacker turns a wishbone into a thorn, and the defender goes there. Now we've gotten both defending pieces out of the center of the board, and that was our objective. So job well done. However, all we've done is create a rosette that's also centered on the board. So in this one case, when we're in the center of the board, we actually haven't made as much progress as we could. Let's look at the other alternative here. So if the attacker goes there, well, that's what you do in an Erva position, and we get that check. But because we're so far from the edge of the board, after something like that, we have a hidden option here, which is to go there. And what we're doing is skewering a forking square. This is something, obviously, the attacker only has this kind of geometry to work with when the defending pieces are in the center of the board or very near to it. So this forces the defender to step back. Well, if the defender goes there, then that's the natural thing to do, is attack a hanging rook. And if the defender instead goes king f5, now we have the absolute 7th extension position. There's a video on how this works. The bottom line is that the defender is forced to march up the board by a forcing sequence and lose a lot of space very rapidly with no danger at all to the attacker. So again, let's look at that same process in action. It's black to move, and he keeps both pieces in the center of the board. Okay, queen gives a check there. Now the king's out. We go there, attack the queen. We go there. And this check finally forces him to start letting go of the center. As you can see, the attacking king already controls d5, so the defender is forced to move out this way. And then we go there, and we get a body check position, and we've already seen how to handle this. This is a vertical mirror image of the last one, where queen to f8 is a little quicker than queen c4 check, but if you play either one, you're handling this position well.